teaching companion. Go on, sit down. There you go. So, rainy day, at least where I am, so I thought we could just do a nice energy release, a little bit slower movement today. Just get some deeper areas of the body. We'll work some hips. And just as we go through the practice, just be extra mindful about your body as you move through the class. And make sure that when we do things that you feel comfortable in the position that you're in, and if you need to back out a little bit, then we back out a little bit. So this is we'll call this the very mindful practice today. So we'll take extra care of our body as we move. So take a moment to find your seat. And before we do anything with the alignment or the posture, we'll take a moment or two just to connect to our breath. And as you begin to deepen the awareness of your breath, just allow the body to feel light on the mat. Feel the body start to expand. Mukha. Feel the body start to expand and contract. And then from this, lean forward just a little bit so where you access your sit bones, those bones that we so often talk about, let that be your foundation for your seated posture. Begin to engage the lower abdominals. And then finally allow the shoulders to move back and apart and allow the crown of the head to feel like it's gently moving towards the ceiling. So you feel length in your spine. You feel lightness from the body space via your breath. But at the same time, you feel a sense of grounding, this nice foundation in the floor. Take a few more rounds of breath, just making that transition to the mat. Again, approaching our practice for today is the mindful approach. Respecting the body, moving with integrity, moving with grace, moving with awareness. Let's take a moment to set the intention of this practice. And from that, we place the hands into prayer in our heart. We breathe deeply for a moment or two, allowing this intention to come to us naturally, unforced. We bow our heads. And from that gentle place, we lift our chins and we take our hands behind us. Fingertips, roll the shoulders back, sit up as tall as you can, move the seat around a little bit, and then roll back and uncross opposite the leg. So if your right was in front, now take the left in front, sit up tall, and twist over to the left. And as you twist towards the left, let the shoulders be back and apart. Allow the side body to move. So right moves to left, left moves to right as you twist, and then come back into neutral, switch left hand to the right knee and you twist over towards the right. Again, allowing side body to be the guide. Don't worry about where your gaze goes. Stay strong in the core. And then take the hands back behind you, undo the cross to the original placement. Sit up as tall as you can. Twist back to the left. Shoulders back and apart, sitting fully. And then we come back into neutral, we'll take it to the right the last time. And then we come back into neutral with the chest square over the cross of the legs. Take your arms into this configuration, so palms facing down, elbows at 90 degrees, and just start a upper torso movement from right to left. Stay nice and strong in your core. And just move slowly and mindfully back and forth. Try to concentrate the movement from the shoulders to the crown of the head to basically your mid-back. So working that thoracic. Just a nice little opening for the upper back, and your gaze can follow the movement of the shoulders. So you get a little bit of mobility in the cervical area of the spine. Just a couple more. And then from that position, come back into neutral, and then just open your hands to the side and place them onto the floor. Sit up tall. Take your left arm up and over, place it on the outside of the right, and just gently guide your left ear towards the left shoulder. We're primarily using the weight of our hand, a little bit of gravity. Don't force it. Let the right shoulder move down a little bit. Sit up tall. Stay strong in the core. And then allow the hand to guide you back into that neutral position. Switch hands, right arm comes up, switch to the left, and the right ear drops to the right shoulder. Maybe the left shoulder goes down just a little bit. Guide yourself back into neutral. Both hands are out the side of the hips. Shoulders are back and apart. Sit up nice and tall. Take a few rounds of breath. Just feel that space within the body open up so the energy channels flow. You're nice and efficient internally. Take a breath, chin to chest. And then slowly lift your chin and take your gaze towards the ceiling. And then back to chin to chest. Again, move with integrity. Move with an awareness as we focus our attention on the cervical spine as we move back and forth. Freeing up space in the neck and the shoulders. This is typically a movement that we don't do a lot of. A few more. Again, and while we take these opportunities to move the body, connect to it. Pay a little bit more attention to the movement and the range of motion that we will experience today. A couple more. And one more full round. And then come back into a neutral position. Your chin is parallel towards the floor, and then you're just going to look to the left, back to neutral, look to the right. Shoulders are back and apart. So we're taking that same nice flow of movement, and we've just changed the expression. So as we move from right to left to neutral and back, we continue to exercise the movement of that cervical spine. A couple more. And then from that point, let's come back into neutral. Chin is parallel. Last little bit here, chin to chest. Fingertips are strong into the floor. You sit up tall and then sweep your left ear over towards the left shoulder. So we'll limit today's posture quantity. We'll focus much more on the quality of them instead of trying to cram a bunch of postures into the time that we have together. So we'll spend, again, a little bit less time on the quantity and more time on the integrity and mindfulness of each posture. Good. Slowly come back into neutral. We'll lift the chin. And then scoot your legs forward and come to your back. And as you come to your back, let the soles of the feet rest on the floor. Take your arms in elbows in a 90 degrees, and then take your palms back so they face the ceiling. Backs of the hands on the mat or the floor. Upper chest is nice and open. And then draw the soles of the feet together and allow the knees to open wide. And from this point, if it's comfortable, make a little bounce with the knees. Just allow them to kind of move up and down a little bit. So you're going deeper into the inner thighs and a little bit deeper into that hip connection. Remember, the inner thighs are known as adductors. Add. So we draw in towards the midline, and the outside is the abductors. Okay? So abduction draws in and adduction takes out. And then from that point, take the soles of the feet back to the floor. Take your arms out to a T, palms face down, cross the left ankle over the right knee, and then work that left hip a little bit further forward, flexing the left foot, and then bring that right thigh into your chest and interlace your hands behind that right hamstring. Shoulders and back of the head are on the floor. Right and left ankle are flexed. And that right foot pushes forward just a little bit so you feel some sensation in that hand-hamstring connection. And we'll just take a moment or two to hold this posture. There's a very gentle rotation externally of that outer left hip. Right leg is strong. And we'll just take a few rounds of breath here. Gently allowing that left hip to open. And then from that point, stretch the right leg as long as you can. Stretch the sole of the foot towards the ceiling. And then again, we'll hold for a few rounds of breath. Notice the hamstring gets super active here. That right hip now becomes a little bit more involved in this posture. Left hip is still rotating externally. And then move that right ankle around a little bit. Maybe a little tick-tock from side to side. Maybe a little point and flex. Whatever feels good. Good. And then from that point, perhaps the hands are released from your right thigh, and that right leg stays long. So now we're going deeper into that right thigh and that hip connection, engaging, and now we start to build the stability. We hold this for a few rounds of breath. And then from there, release the right foot back to the floor. Drop your knees to the right, and that sole of the left foot touches the mat, and the left knee moves away from you a little bit, and that left arm can stretch back over your head. So we'll take a little bit longer in this posture, allowing that left side to be as long as you can. That left shoulder gets a little bit heavier, and you can look towards the left if you'd like, or you can look towards the right. Maybe even look towards the ceiling for more of a neutral position. But allow that left foot to be flat. Try to keep it as attached to the mat as you possibly can. Taking some nice deep rounds of breath and letting the body just open through a mindful awareness, connecting to each aspect of this particular posture. And then stretch your right arm over, and then take your left wrist in your hand, and then stretch it back a little bit. Stretch. Good. Release the arms out to a T again. Draw the knees back into a neutral position, and now we're going to let them slide to the left.
And as they fall to the left, the right arm moves over your head. You're going to stretch back and breathe a few rounds of breath. Again, right shoulder may get a little heavier. And the left arm can stretch back, and we just take hold of that right wrist and stretch it back. So going a little bit deeper into that shoulder girdle, side body, ribs, intercostals, all the way down into that right hip joint. Good, releasing the right hand, coming back into neutral, and then take both soles of the feet to the floor. Let your lower back settle in towards the mat, and then bring the left knee in, hands around the shin. And just kind of move that left knee in a circular movement. We'll do both directions, so either one you start with is fine. Just going in and stimulating some activity in that left hip joint a little bit deeper. Allowing this movement to clear space and rid ourselves of any toxins or any stress or tension that can be left or stored in that left hip joint. Sometimes practices that focus on very gentle, relaxed, mindful movements really can do the body a wonder of good. And then from that position, come back into neutral, and let's transition into a half happy baby pose on that left side. Right foot stays on the floor. You can even take your right leg and stretch it out if that's comfortable. Push through that right heel. Okay. Right arm can go over the head if you like, or you can rest it in a T. Left foot is a little heavy, but we're not cranking down on that left hip. We're just letting gravity do the majority of the work here. And we will hold this a little bit longer. Stretching and breathing and just letting the body open naturally. Resisting any temptation to take it deeper than we need to. Staying in a position that is most efficient for our bodies. Couple more rounds of breath. Just allow that left hip to open up naturally. And then from that position, we're going to take the left foot back to the floor, take the right foot to the floor, bend your elbows, and then take yourself back into the cactus position. Bring the soles of the feet together again, and let your knees open wide, and perhaps a little bit of balance. Just feel that release. Maybe notice a difference between our first round of this and our second round. We'll do 3 total. And allow the knees to bounce back and forth and just kind of stretch those abductors, your inner thighs. Working a little bit on the outer hips, the adductors. Couple more. And then from there, take your arms out to a T, bring the soles of the feet back together, cross that right over the left, and then take that right hip and roll it away from you, just opening space before we step into a deeper posture. A couple rounds of breath. Right foot is engaged to make sure we protect that right knee. And then from that position, we slowly draw the left thigh into our chest, interlace. We start with both feet active and flexed. Hands around that left hamstring. Right hip continues to move forward, and we even push that left foot just a little bit away from us to engage that connection of the hamstring to the palms. We take a few rounds of breath here. And then from that position, if we're comfortable, perhaps that left foot stretches up towards the ceiling and feel again that left hamstring get very, very active. Move that left ankle around a little bit, perhaps side to side. Again, keeping both feet flexed. And then you're going to point and flex, point, good. Move that ankle around a little bit. And then once we do that, we come back into a neutral position. If we're good here and feel nice and connected to that left hip, perhaps the hands come off and we keep the left foot long, going deeper into that left hip. We breathe fully for a few rounds of breath. This is a great stability builder, using lots of areas of that lower back and hip, core, strong in the base of our spine to support this action. And from that, we slowly release the left foot down. We drop our knees to the left. Right foot is now flat. Right knee points towards the sky. Let your body settle a moment before we transition. Perhaps that right arm over the head and that right shoulder gets a little heavier. Again, our gaze can be left, neutral, or towards the right. Nice active in the lower belly, core is engaged. And then finally, in this position, that left hand can go back, grabbing the right wrist if we'd like, and maybe stretch it back a little bit. Just get nice and long in that right side. Feel that right hip open. Stretching. And then from that position, release the arms back out to a T, come back into neutral, and we let the hands or the knees move over towards the right, stretching that left hip. Maybe that left arm goes back. Left shoulder gets a little heavier. Couple more rounds of breath. And then from that position, perhaps the right arm goes back. We grab left wrist and pull it back. And then from that position, we come back into neutral, undo the cross and bring that right knee into the chest, hands around the shin, and start our nice little circular movements here. Again, we'll do both directions, so just a few times either direction. Switching. Again, opening that right hip joint, wringing it out, cleansing it of toxins and stress and tension. Let's switch the direction. Sit down. Sit down. Good. Let's come back into neutral position and we'll find our half happy baby pose right side. Take a moment for the lower back to settle in towards the mat. And then once you feel connected and stable, perhaps that left leg goes long. And from that left leg, push through the left heel. Add a little bit of gravity or weight to that right hand. Not a lot, just enough to feel the energy in that right hip. Trying to keep the left side body rooted in towards the mat. Nice couple rounds of breath. Stretching and just breathing fully into the body. And then from that position, release the right foot to the floor. Take the left foot to the floor. Take your arms back into your cactus to open the heart. Bring the soles of the feet together and the knees open wide last time. Perhaps we reconnect to that little bit of bounce in the inner thighs as the knees move up and down. Breathing. And then from that position, take the soles of the feet to the floor. Stretch your legs forward. Stretch your arms over your head. Let left hand grab right wrist. And as you pull the right wrist back, stretch through the left foot. Switch hands. Stretch through the right foot as the left hand moves back. Come back into neutral, let the hands go, and take a deep full breath and just stretch through the heels and reach through the fingertips. Get as long as you can. And then from that position, bring the arms back. Take the left foot to the floor, and you're going to roll to your left side, or excuse me, your right side, and you're going to slowly come up back to a seated position. Allow the right shin to be in front of the left. So sit up as tall as you can. Okay. Right shin is in front of the left. Take your hands behind you, sit up as tall as you can. Walk your hands forward, stretching your heart forward. Walk it over to the left. And then as you walk to the left, you'll feel that right hip start to activate a little bit. Let's make it heavier. Walking that right fingertips a little bit further away from your body. Diagonally across the mat. Side body right is long. Right hip is heavy. And breath is full. Stretch. Good. Walk it back into neutral. Lift the chest. And then you're going to twist now to the left. Right hand, left knee, twist again. Nice little side body. Feel those energy just kind of release. Feel the right side move to the left side move to the right. Sit up as tall as you can. We'll hold this posture for just a little bit longer. Staying active in the core. Notice this round of twists. We've taken the hips a little bit more. We did that initial round just kind of awakening, and now we're taking it a little bit deeper as we focus specifically on that outer right hip. Good, and we'll take a nice twist to the right, left hand, right knee. Breathing. Good, come back into neutral, undo the cross, take the left in front. Take your hands out front, walk it to the right. Take that left hip down a little bit. Breathing and stretching through your left side body, allowing that left hip to get a little heavier. Good, come back into neutral, sit up tall, take your left hand and twist over towards the right. We have a couple more little sequences to do on our seats. And then we'll come to an all fours position and work a little bit there, and then we'll work ourselves back to our back. And we'll do some breathing and some release from our reclined position. Good, come back into neutral. We'll take that nice little twist over towards the left, right hand, left knee. So moving the body respectively from left to right, balancing, making sure we cover each side. Bringing that awareness of movement, balancing the body energetically. Good, come back into neutral, and then again, let's take the legs long and windshield wiper. Let's bring that left inner thigh, or excuse me, left sole of the foot to the inner upper right thigh. Take your hands behind you and sit up super tall. Allow that right leg to be straight out. Take the left arm up. And then twist over to the right a little bit. Now we've done a little bit of forward folding on our back. Okay, so we're going to take that left hand and drop it someplace on the outside of our right shin, even the foot if you can grab. Okay. Allow that right thigh to move back into the hip. And as soon as we connect to that, notice that the heart starts to move forward. Now this is the posture of the practice so far that we will hold the longest. Allowing that left ribs to get just a little heavier to broaden across that mid-back range. Scooting the heart further forward after each potential exhale, just kind of feels a little bit more length. You'll notice when the resistance gets there where we should stop and be mindful about how much further we should go. These longer hold postures really do the body good. It builds mobility, it builds flexibility, it strengthens, and also really kind of helps us with our patience, understanding that the body is not going to open up in one practice. It's not going to get to its full expression in one practice. It takes time, it takes patience, but it's well worth it. Exercising the body and the mind to allow ourselves to kind of enter into that more tranquil state in a more consistent basis throughout our busy schedule, our lives. A little bit longer, continuing to make that left rib cage a little heavier, scooting the heart forward every opportunity we feel a release, making sure that the lower back is secure and feels strong by using our lower belly to engage. And that right thigh, again, it's super important that we try to pull that right thigh back and extending our heart forward, just breathing into that right hamstring. A little bit longer. And then from there, as you engage, lift up. And then we'll take a nice gentle twist to the left. Left hand behind you, right hand to the left knee and twist. Notice that mid-back gets a little bit more stretch now that we're taking the right side to the left and balancing that openness. We'll take a nice counter twist to the right. We'll hold this for a moment. Stretching, shoulders are back, sitting tall, feeling the space in our body. Knowing that as we get deeper into the practice, we're simply creating more room. We're undoing things that have kept us bound up internally from a mobility and stress. So this movement allows us to open up. Come back into neutral. Now we'll take that left foot into our hand. So basically this is half happy baby pose, left side, which we've done already on our back, but now we're in a seated position. Right leg is long, left knee comes back, sit up as tall as you can, exactly like we would do on our back, but we're seated. Right leg is strong. You even take that right arm and stretch it up. Reach through the fingertips, root that right hip down and stretch. Nice little engagement here, stability, strength. Coordination works well. Take your right hand behind you and then transition that left foot to the outside of the right knee. Take your hands on the left shin and sit up as tall as you can. Now we can add a twist to this, but for today's class we'll just take a nice little opening of that left hip. So sit up tall, maybe hug that left knee in a little bit, stretch, sit up tall, find those sit bones, taking some deep rounds of breath. And then from there, slowly release. Take your left foot out, windshield wiper the legs again, and let's switch sides. So right foot comes to the inner upper left thigh, hands behind you, sit up tall, right arm comes up. Take that nice little gentle twist over towards the left, and then take that right hand forward, knowing that one side, again, potentially could be a little stickier than the other. So this side for me is a little tighter, so I'll take a much greater slowness to this side than I did the other side. Still being mindful and respectful of the movement. Left thigh pulls back, heart moves forward. And you can feel the body open up gradually. This time our right ribs get a little heavier. Couple more rounds of breath. Again, we'll hold this a little bit longer than we normally would. A few more rounds of breath. Couple more breaths. Continuing to stretch that heart a little closer towards those left toes. And then slowly releasing. We'll take that nice twist towards the right. Left hand, right knee, sit up tall, twist. Again, moving the side body, and notice that left side body gets a little bit extra stretch now that we're countering that forward fold stretch. And then we'll come back, a nice counter twist to the left. And then we'll come back into neutral and find our half happy baby pose seated posture on our right side. Staying strong on the left. Mukha's trying to do this pose too. She's doing the full version of happy baby pose. And then from there, stretch that right foot to the outside of the left, take your hands around that shin, sit up tall. And the more you draw that right inner knee towards your chest, the more you're going to feel that stretch on that outer right hip. Good. Let's take a breath, sit up tall, stretch, and we release. Right foot goes out. One more seated posture, and then we're going to come to hands and knees for a little bit. From that position, bring the soles of the feet together. Take your hands behind you, sit up tall, Baddha Konasana. So as your shoulders move back, you sit up as tall as you can, and we'll do 2 rounds of this. So stretch your heart forward a little bit. Let the knees fall out and apart. And if you feel comfortable and stable, you can transition your hands to your ankles. Elbows are on the inner thighs, gently pushing down and stretching out. Okay. Again, we'll do 2 rounds of this, and we'll include a twist. Again, if you want, again, all these postures we've actually done already today. So this is the knees wide on our back, and we can take a little bit of bounce with that if we like. We're trying to find as much length in the spine as we can. So trying not to round, trying to extend, finding space and finding length. Crown of the head moves forward, shoulders move back. We'll hold this for a little bit longer. Nice stretch, breathing and moving. And then from that position, swing your arms behind you, come up tall, we'll twist to the right, left hand, right knee. A little bit more space, twisting towards the right, side bodies move in opposite directions, shoulders move back. Breathe. We'll switch to the left. And we'll come back, and then from there, step your feet forward just a little bit. Take your hands to your ankles, pull yourself up, and then start to lean forward. Now hands can stay on the ankles, or if you have the room, transition your hands underneath your shins, taking the palms to the tops of the feet, and then move your shoulders back and really find some extension in your spine. Feel your seat moving back, and then from there you can round. A few more rounds of breath. And from there, inhale, stretch the heart forward, slowly release the posture. Take your hands, cross your legs, and then let's move to an all fours position. So from an all fours, we will take the shoulders over the wrists, knees underneath the hips, spread your fingers wide, and then just start some cat-cow, but move slowly. Feel that lower back release. And then as you move in this cat-cow position, perhaps we start a little bit of circular movement. Going clockwise. Allowing this circular movement to enlarge if we want as the hips get a little closer towards the heels. Allowing the breath to stimulate this movement. And then from there, let's reverse that circle. So counterclockwise. Couple more. And then from that position, let's come back into an all fours. Walk your hands forward about one hand length, and we'll come into two downward dogs, okay? So from this position, you're going to tuck your toes and you're going to stretch back. Now this will be our most active pose of the day as you pedal your feet back and forth. And as you stretch your hips back, so this posture is now 45 minutes into our practice. So it would feel completely different now than it would in the first couple moments. Step your feet together. Take your right knee up and back, and then bring your right knee to the outside of your right wrist as we come into pigeon. So from this, you're going to tuck the left toe under, stretch that left and right hip back, and then walk your hands off the mat, take the top of the left foot to the floor and stretch your heart up, and then reach your heart forward. Now your expression here is entirely up to you. You can come down to your forearms or you can come all the way down towards your forehead. I'm going to stay in this position because I want to find some length in my spine, which feels good, and that right hip is going to gently pull back a little bit, and that left hip is going to pull forward a little bit. So crown of the head moves forward. We're going to hold this pose for a little bit longer again than we normally would. But we want to stay active in our hips. We want to stay full with our breath. We want to feel the body get heavier and heavier as we release into the mat. Now, for some reason, if you're watching this video and this pose is uncomfortable for you, either in the hip or the knee, then simply come to your back and you'll enter that back, or the position that we tapped into first thing off, which is the figure 4 on our back, which is basically the equivalent to this, okay? So if that's more comfortable for you, then I encourage you to take that posture compared to this one. Either way, you'll continue to breathe, releasing fully into the mat, stretching. A couple more rounds of breath, about another minute while we're here. Yeah, 30 seconds more, just stay with the breath. Enjoy the release, whichever posture you're in. And then from that position, slowly release your hands to the mat and take your left palm to the sole of your right foot. And then root down and lift up and just open up towards the right. Allow that left hand to push into the sole of the foot so you make that connection to give you some upper lift in the chest. And then again, twisting over towards the right, and as your right shoulder moves back, try to equal that by pulling the right hip back. And then we'll come out of it. Right hand down, left knee tucks, and then from there we're going to stretch back into our second and final downward dog. So from here you'll pedal the feet back and forth. You'll take a moment to capture the pose. Stepping the feet together a little bit, moving the hips back, taking your left foot up and back, and bringing the left knee to the outside of your left wrist. Scooting back on the right side. Walk your hands off the mat, roll the shoulders back, sit up as tall as you can, get that nice stretch in that right side body. And then either drop to forearms or drop to your forehead, whichever is most comfortable. Just taking some nice deep rounds of breath. And again, that left hip slowly pulls back and that right hip moves forward to just feel the outer hips move in to balance across that lower back. Again, we'll stay here for about 45 more seconds. And again, remembering that if this side is not comfortable for you and the reclined version of this pose is the best way and best option for you, then we certainly encourage that. There's a term in yoga that we refer to as no harm. It's called ahimsa. It is a practice that runs deep into yoga and the philosophy of yoga of non-harm, not only to yourself but to others around you. Again, taking some nice deep rounds of breath. And for those who are watching this video after its production today, there are some wonderful sounds of rain that are happening right now in the mountains. It's very foggy out. It's not even that cool, but there's just a nice collection of rain falling from the rooftop, hitting the leaves, making a wonderful sound. Very therapeutic, very relaxing. And then from that position, let's walk our hands back. Take your right hand towards your left foot. Sit up as tall as you can and open up towards the left. Stretch that right hip flexor. And take a deep, full breath. And release. And then coming out of it, we'll just simply roll to our left hip. Take your right leg, bring it around. Take your left leg, stretch it out. And then we'll come back to our backs. Right back to where we started the early portion of this practice, re-entering that pose that we did with the soles of the feet together, knees open wide, and let your arms come to a cactus. So this position opens up across the chest. We'll tap into the early portion of the practice and do a second set of postures, allowing the body to continue to move deeper into the range of motion and release. Take the soles of the feet, take your arms out to a T, take your left ankle over your right, and you'll simply cross and fall towards the right. Let that left foot hit the mat, let the left knee point towards the sky, and perhaps that left arm stretches over. Left shoulder gets a little bit heavier. Taking some deep rounds of breath, maybe the right arm goes over, right hand, left wrist, and stretch back. And release the arms, come back into neutral and take it to the left. Once you find that position, maybe the right arm comes over, stretches back. Come back into neutral. You'll simply bring the soles of the feet together. Take your arms into the cactus. This will be the last side of this. Take a couple breaths. Let that front body open up. Again, noticing a significant difference in the hips as we have moved through our practice. Arms out to a T, soles of the feet, right ankle over the left. Flex and drop your knees towards the right. Get settled. Once you're settled, right arm comes behind you. Stretch. Left hand can move back, grab, and reach. And from there, we'll release the arms. We'll come back into our final side as the knees fall towards our right. Stretch. Left arm pops over. And come back into neutral. Take the soles of the feet to the floor. Bring both knees in towards your chest, and let's find that full version of Happy Baby pose. Nice little side to side. then from there, our final squeeze, bring the knees in, and then we'll take the legs forward as we find a moment or two of rest. Let your toes roll open. Take a couple deep rounds of breath and let your body settle in towards the mat. We'll just be here a moment or two. And just feel that nice release into the floor. You've worked hard. That mindful approach to the practice. Hopefully building that relationship for future practices to take that same awareness into the future. Slowly begin to bring an awareness back to your breath and to your body and to this present moment. And as you begin to move the body in a way that's comfortable, deepening again the awareness of, you slowly make your way to a seated posture. Resting back forward, let us take this final posture, staying focused on the integrity of it. So sit fully, sit with the open heart, recalling the intention of this practice. We draw the hands to prayer as we bow our heads. And the divine within me honors and respects the divine within you. Thank you for joining me this morning and Mukha for our practice. Namaste.